There's something deeply wrong with the modern psyche. We've built a world where comfort is abundant, where distractions are never ending, and yet meaning slips through our fingers like sand. Why? Because we have abandoned responsibility. And when you abandon responsibility, you abandon purpose. You abandon the one thing that keeps you grounded in the chaos of existence. Let me tell you something fundamental. Life is suffering. Life is tragedy. That's not a cynical statement, it's an observation. Things fall apart. People betray each other. Death waits at the end of every road. And so, if life is suffering, then the question becomes, how do you respond? You can become bitter. You can curse the universe. You can hide, avoid, blame. You can immerse yourself in comfort, food, alcohol, entertainment, excuses. But you won't grow. You'll just rot. Slowly, quietly, until one day you wake up and realize you are a ghost in your own life. Or, you can take responsibility. That's the heroic path. That's the path of meaning. Responsibility is what pulls you out of the pit. It's the voluntary decision to confront suffering, to say, despite the chaos, I will act as if what I do matters. And that's not a small thing. That's the foundation of civilization. It's the core of your identity. Without responsibility, you are nothing but a feather in the wind, blown around by the opinions of others, the circumstances of your day, and the mood of the moment. You see, meaning is not found in happiness. Happiness is fleeting. It comes and goes. But meaning, that's something you can hold on to, even in the darkest moments. And where do you find it? You find it in carrying the heaviest burden you can bear. You find it in voluntarily shouldering the load. Maybe it's caring for your family. Maybe it's fixing your relationships. Maybe it's mastering your work, building something worthwhile, aiming at something greater than yourself. Most people avoid responsibility because it's hard. Of course it's hard. That's the point. If it were easy, it wouldn't shape you. It wouldn't refine your character. You don't become strong by lifting feathers. You become strong by lifting weights, by confronting challenges that test you. Think about this. If your life is a mess, clean your room. Not because your room is the final destination, but because it's the first thing you can fix. And if you can't fix your room, your own immediate environment, what makes you think you're qualified to criticize the world? It's easier to shout at the sky than to organize your closet. But shouting doesn't change the world. Action does. Discipline does. Responsibility does. Let's talk about the dichotomy of order and chaos. These are the fundamental forces of being. Order is where things are predictable, structured, meaningful. Chaos is where the unknown lives, where anxiety breeds. And you, as a human being, stand at the edge. Not fully in order, not fully in chaos, but dancing on the border. That's where growth happens. That's where transformation occurs. When you take responsibility, you bring order into the chaos. You take what is unknown, what is broken, and you make it known, you fix it. That's heroic. That's meaningful. That's how you become someone of value. But people run from that. They say, why me? Why should I carry this weight? Well, who else will? And if not you, then what happens to the world? What happens to your family? What happens to your future? Responsibility is not just a burden. It is the path to greatness. When you assume responsibility, you stop being a victim. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You become the kind of person who can confront the dragon, walk into the fire, and come out transformed. People think they're too broken. They say, I've made too many mistakes. But that's nonsense. Your past does not define you, your willingness to face it does. Redemption is always available, but it's earned. It's earned by turning toward the thing you least want to confront and saying, I'll fix this, even if it breaks me. And it will break you, the old you. The weak you. The unaccountable you. And that's good, because something stronger will emerge. Someone better. You must become the person your future needs you to be. You must become the father your children can look up to. The partner your spouse can rely on. The individual who is not afraid to stand alone in truth, even when the world mocks it. We live in a time where victimhood is celebrated. Where blame is currency. Where responsibility is mocked. But I tell you this, those who embrace responsibility, truly, deeply, they are the ones who build the future. They are the ones who stand tall when the storm comes. Don't wait for the world to change. Start with yourself, your habits, your thoughts, your discipline, your honesty, your competence. Be someone people can count on. Be someone you can respect when you look in the mirror. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about waking up each day and saying, what can I fix today? What can I improve? That's how you build a life. That's how you create meaning. So take aim, pick up the weight, and walk forward, even if your knees shake. The path of responsibility is not easy, but it's worth it. Because when you walk it, when you carry your burden, you discover that you are far more capable than you ever imagined. We live in a world where freedom is glorified, where doing what you want, when you want, and how you want is seen as the ultimate goal. But here's the paradox most people never understand. True freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you feel like. True freedom is born from discipline. That's not an idea you hear often. It's certainly not popular. But it's the truth. And it's a truth that will reshape your life if you embrace it. You see, discipline is structure. It's voluntary limitation. It's order imposed on chaos. And that's exactly what allows you to thrive. Let me explain. Every time you choose discipline, every time you wake up early, keep your word, focus on a goal, delay gratification, you build internal strength. You're shaping yourself into someone who can navigate the world with power and precision. Someone who is dangerous, but disciplined. Someone who has potential for destruction but chooses control. That is the highest ideal of the individual. Without discipline, you are a slave to your whims. Your emotions run your life. Your habits dominate your future. And slowly, you become resentful, not because life is unfair, but because you gave up your control. You handed it over to impulse. Discipline is not punishment. It's not about suffering for the sake of suffering. It's about training, shaping yourself into a better version of who you were yesterday. Think of it this way. Imagine a man who wants to become strong. He doesn't gain muscle by hoping. He doesn't become powerful by complaining. He disciplines himself, to lift, to eat right, to sleep on time, to push when it hurts. And day by day, he transforms. That same principle applies to your mind, your character, your future. The path to greatness is not random. It is built, brick by brick, through consistent discipline. People often say, but I want to be free. Fine. But ask yourself, what kind of freedom do you want? Do you want the freedom to eat whatever you want, whenever you want? That leads to sickness. Do you want the freedom to avoid work? That leads to poverty and shame. Do you want the freedom to speak without thinking? That leads to broken relationships and regret. Freedom without discipline is chaos. But discipline gives you the freedom to move forward. The freedom to say no when temptation arises. The freedom to walk into a room with confidence because you know you've put in the work. The freedom to lead, to serve, to build. And discipline is not born overnight. It's forged in repetition. It's built when you show up, even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. People say, follow your passion. That's nonsense. Passions fade. Feelings change. What remains is character. And character is built through disciplined action. You must decide, who do you want to become? Not just what do you want, that's superficial. What kind of person do you need to become in order to have a life of meaning, purpose, and power? If you want to lead, you must discipline your speech. If you want to achieve, you must discipline your time. If you want to love well, you must discipline your emotions. And if you want to grow, you must discipline your mind. Most people don't lack talent, they lack focus. They lack the ability to say no to distractions, to push through boredom, to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term purpose. We've created a culture that glorifies indulgence and mocks discipline. But that culture is crumbling. Because when the storms of life come, and they will, only the disciplined will stand. Only those who've trained themselves in silence, who've walked the hard path, who've chosen discomfort for the sake of growth, only they will endure. Let's talk about identity. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not your past. You are what you repeatedly do. If you wake up late, waste time, scroll endlessly, break promises, and avoid discomfort, that's who you become. But if you wake up early, pursue purpose, speak truth, keep your word, and do the hard things, you become a force of nature. A man or woman people respect. Someone who can be relied on. Someone you respect. You have to ask yourself, are your actions aligned with your highest values? Or are they shaped by laziness and fear? Discipline is not about perfection, it's about alignment. About putting your actions in line with your vision. And here's the catch, nobody will hand it to you. No one will drag you into greatness. You must choose it. You must fight for it. You must become it. Discipline also creates resilience. It gives you the strength to withstand the inevitable blows of life. The loss, the rejection, the failure. Those things come for everyone. But the disciplined don't fall apart. They adapt. They rebuild. They endure. And that's what freedom looks like. Not the absence of difficulty, but the ability to thrive through difficulty. I'll tell you a harsh truth. The world doesn't care about your excuses. The world rewards competence. It rewards effort. It rewards those who take their pain and turn it into power. Discipline is the way. You need a schedule. You need rules. You need a routine. Not because it's restrictive, but because it gives you control over your time. Over your habits. Over your future. A man without discipline is at the mercy of the world. But a man with discipline is dangerous, in the best sense of the word. He's precise. He's patient. He's powerful. So what do? You start small. You wake up when you say you will. You make your bed. You do the work, even if no one sees it. Especially if no one sees it. You speak truth. You keep your promises. You face your fears. You stay consistent. And over time, the discipline becomes who you are. Not a task, an identity. Don't seek an easy life. Seek a meaningful one. And meaning is forged in the fires of discipline. Discipline yourself. And then, you'll be free.